It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Jen Cohen as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Great to have you in studio today. Executive Director of Arizona Crisis Team, Sue Rutherford, is back with us. Yes. Hello, Sue.
Hello.
We've had a nice conversation already this morning. Phone number for you and a website, and we'll mention these over and over again throughout the show. Phone number is 928-713-6625. The website is azcrisisteam.org. It's been about a year.
Yes, since I've been here. Thank you for inviting me again.
Yes, it's great. Always great to have you in here. It's always a very good show because what you do is very important. I think people don't realize just how important it is. I think our firefighters and the police officers probably know, though, don't they?
Yes.
They probably love to see you show up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think because we can try to relieve them so they can get back into service, do their job, and so with us there with what we call our clients, the people who are experiencing a tragedy, that frees them up.
Maybe we should start right there. What is the Arizona Crisis Team?
So what we are is we're a nonprofit. We're volunteer-based, so we have volunteers that are called out by police officers, firefighters, or the hospital when there's been any type of tragedy. Most often it's death related, but it can be any type of crisis. And then our volunteer the volunteer on duty goes to spend the first few hours with the people during their crisis to get them through the first horrific hours of providing what we call emotional support, but also some practical support. What's going to happen next? What they can expect, maybe to be their advocate if needed, their liaison with the emergency responders, that type of thing.
That's quite a job.
It's
quite a job.
Very tough.
Now, do you interact with Red Cross at all? Or if the Red Cross is there, do they typically call you in as well?
Actually, we're more likely to call Red Cross in.
Okay.
So if we get called to a structure fire, we have our own dispatch first, I must say. So our dispatch and ACT works with the 911 dispatch or the hospital, and so we get the volunteers there. Our dispatch will contact Red Cross when there's a structure fire that we're going on to make sure that they're aware and to kind of get the ball rolling to get them there.
Oh, wow. We've got to give you more credit than we do then, because we hear all the time that the Red Cross showed up. I mean, we've had Jen Cohen just did a story about there was a house fire where the house got struck by lightning.
Yes.
Neighbor saw it, was on fire, ran over, banged on the windows and doors, got her up, got her and her dog out, and I guess she was probably in her 80s, I think I heard. So got her out. That's something you'd respond to? Yes.
And in fact, our average response time is 30 minutes. And usually it takes us a little quicker to get that from the time 911 requests us. So we're there quickly. Well, Red Cross average response time is probably, in the Verde Valley, Sedona area, is probably closer to 2 hours, maybe.
Okay.
So we're there initially, and we're doing a lot of the support and trying to get the ball rolling on everything else.
Okay,
so, yeah.
All right, that makes sense, Okay, so Arizona Crisis Team is there right away. azcrisisteam.org is the website. Okay, so now we know what the crisis team is. Give us some examples of some of the calls you've been on and what you've had to deal with. Can you do that?
Sure, sure. And of course, without keeping names and keeping it general.
Sure.
I still volunteer, and actually I volunteer on the Verde side because we have two chapters, Prescott side and Verde side, we call it. And I was on a call a few nights ago, requested by Sedona Fire. So I went out to the call, and this gentleman, his wife had coded. So the firefighters, there were about 10 firefighters from Sedona there, and Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, a couple deputies, and they were what we call working her. They were coding her, and they'd get her going, then it'd stop. They'd get her going, it'd stop. And then they were transporting her to Verde Valley Medical Center in Cottonwood. So I was with the husband while that was going on, and then followed him to the hospital while they continued to work on her. They must have worked on this lady for 2.5 hours total, I would guess. And they continued to work on her there. The hospital was outstanding, and the Dr. Eastman, I want to recommend. did a great job. They allowed him to stay in the room while they worked on her. That's really difficult to watch that being done on your loved one. It can be horrific. At the same time, the family know they're doing everything they can to try to save their loved one. Unfortunately, she did not survive. But this gentleman, though it was tough, I think it was also good for him to know that they went to all means, because he wanted her to save. He kept telling me, she's a fighter. Mm-hmm. She's a fighter. I think she'll make it. Sadly, she didn't, but this was needed for him. So that was just 2-3 nights ago.
And he's got you there for backup.
Yes.
Did he lean on you at all during that time, or was he just, I imagine he was probably pretty focused on his wife.
He was very focused, yeah. But I got him a chair. We sat in the back corner. I sat next to him, or I stood next to him, and he would just interact with me off and on, and I'd talk to him, make sure he knew what was going on, though the hospital staff were very good at keeping him informed of what was going on.
And that's what you're there for, right?
Yes.
You're there to lean on.
Yes.
If they need something.
To lean on me, and for me to recognize what his needs are.
Okay, so that's a good point to make right there. That's what I was going to ask you. Are you supposed to assume that they need this or that? Because, you don't want to assume too much. But
right.
When do you step in and kind of take a role and help guide people through?
It depends on the person. And also, we train our volunteers in how to recognize what they need and what they don't want, what they do want. So it's kind of like you're reading the person and making sure what they want gets addressed. So I was always keeping my eye, and not literally, but eye on him, on what were his needs and what did he, making sure everything was addressed as far as, was he thirsty? Did he need information? Was it time that he needed some release to talk? What did he need?
This has got to take a good amount of just common sense.
You would think so, but no. You would think so, but no,
okay.
Because a lot of people tend to try to take control of people in those situations. So if you try to do too much, you're taking control, and it's like telling them what to do. And people can be very resentful, because this is their tragedy, it's their crisis, so it needs to go their way. So sometimes if we think this is what I would want, we think they want that, but that's not necessarily so, because we're all very different.
I think this helps people that are watching and listening.
Yeah.
That are going to maybe consider volunteering, because we're going to talk about volunteering as well, and
yes.
what it takes, and some training and stuff like that in the second half of the show here. But I think it shows, you and I have sat down and done the show half a dozen times.
Yes.
And every time you're here, I know it's not something I could do. I know it's not something I could do. I just would not be able to do it, because that control thing right there would be, I wouldn't want it to look like I was controlling somebody. I would feel like, well, I'm helping you get through this.
Yes.
And we're going to get you through it quick.
Yes.
But, you can't always do that. So let's take our first break, okay? And we'll come back, we'll talk about volunteers, the kind of training they go through, and how to read people. I mean, that could be a challenge itself, okay? So phone number is 928-713-6625. The website is azcrisisteam.org. Sue Rutherford, Executive Director of Arizona Crisis Team. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Being prepared is a part of who you are, but it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you'll go in an emergency build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
Welcome back to Countywide. Executive Director, Arizona Crisis Team, Sue Rutherford in studio. The phone number is 928-713-6625, and the website is azcrisisteam.org. All right, so we've got kind of a general idea, idea. I mean, like you mentioned early in the show, you guys respond to all kinds of different, flooding?
Sure.
You've gone to flooding calls?
Yes, we have.
Flooding, house fires, car crashes?
Medical emergencies.
Any kind of emergency.
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence, that's a good one to bring up too.
Yeah.
So you are going to meet a variety of people in this.
Yes.
How do you teach somebody, how do you teach yourself and somebody else to read Paul David, to know who he is and what he's all about when you run into him?
When you're dealing with somebody in a crisis is very different than dealing with somebody in their normal everyday life.
Sure. Okay, so let's say I'm in crisis.
You're in crisis. First thing is we train the volunteer how to actually approach them. When somebody's in a crisis, it's rare that they're going to stick their hand out to shake your hand like you would normally do. You come along beside them. You don't stand in front of them. You don't stand behind them, of course, but you come alongside them. You want to be on their same level, because if you're above them, it's very condescending to the person down below. So first you're trying to make that connection. So you come along beside them. You do a light touch, we call it. There's appropriate places to touch. You don't grab somebody's hand, their knee, things like that.
Shoulder.
Yeah. You can do the shoulder. No patting, no rubbing. That's very annoying when somebody's in a crisis, or can be. And then when you introduce yourself or you're talking to them, you have to keep it simple, because their head is so overwhelmed with what's going on right then. So you keep what you're saying is very simple, very plain, and then you read them. So like if I went to touch you and you pulled away, I would know, okay, this is not a touchy-feely. Yeah, it's not a touchy-feely person. And other people that you will see who come in who really aren't trained but mean well, they'll give them hugs and they'll be touching them a lot and grabbing them. But you've just learned this person is not, at that moment, not ready for something like that. They don't want to be touched.
Sure.
So it's simple things along that. And then you can watch them when maybe the doctor's talking to them, and you can gather, they're just in that fog. So did you understand, what he just said? Is there further questions? And then you're going to advocate for that. Some people you pick up on, they're just very, very quiet. And then you come out and ask them, like this gentleman I had the other day. I said, and a lot of people won't do that. I said, do you want to be alone? Is it okay if I'm with you? So you're giving them options. That gives them control. Trying to bring control back into
steering.
Yes. So would you like to be alone right now? Would you like me to step away? Do you want me right beside you? What would you like? And you won't offend me in whatever your
I'm here to
choice
help.
is. Yes, I'm here just to be with you.
Okay.
So and most people, almost all people, will speak up. But they won't speak up to other people who just come in and do, if that makes sense.
I probably would. Be pretty loud too, I bet.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So this gives us a little more information as to the kind of person you've got to be able to handle something like this. You can't just be anybody to do this job.
I always say I have a different personality, a different persona when I'm on a call than I am in my everyday life. It's like we call that, you get that act persona when you go in on a call.
Mm-hmm. How long are you usually on the call for?
Average is 2 hours.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
Oh, God,
that's the average.
The average, okay.
With that being said, you could be there 10 minutes and they're going down to Phoenix. They're going to go be with their loved one that was just flown down, something like that. Or it can be 8 hours because whatever the circumstances are, and they can't be left alone. They're not ready to be left alone. You're waiting for family to get there to be with them, things like that.
Any two cases alike?
No.
No.
I learned I've been doing this 18 years, and I think I learned something on every call I go on.
Yeah.
And I've been on, I think I tried to add up not long ago, over 800 calls.
Oh, wow.
So.
And just Yavapai County we're talking
yeah,
about.
just Yavapai County.
You were in healthcare before that.
I was a nurse, yeah. Yeah, I did. I worked labor and delivery at St. Joseph's down in Phoenix. It's no longer St. Joe's. I think, what is it, Banner, or it's one of those?
Something else.
Yeah, it's something. It's a new thing. I always think of it because when I worked there, the nuns ran it when I first started working there. So.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So that's kind of a different area because nurses, they don't really do that, the hand holding and the helping and that.
No,
either, right?
I think because I did that for almost 20 years.
That's the background that got you
yeah,
here,
that's
right?
the background. I left that 18 years ago and went into this, and so I did that for almost 20 years too. But we think we're caregivers and we mean well, and nurses, I say when I say we, and we do it, but I had no idea till I went through this what I was doing wrong as a nurse in the caregiving part.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
A little eye-opener for you, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I know the hospitals are always cold, and that you wake people up all the time.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, they always say if you want to get rest, don't go to the hospital.
Don't go to the hospital, yeah.
I know, we wake them up during the middle of the night.
They say if you want to get sick, go to the hospital as well.
Yeah,
I try to stay away from those places.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, you've got a training session coming up.
Yes.
A training coming up. You need volunteers. How are we staffed? Because I always ask you that every time you're here. We've got, like you said, we have a Prescott chapter, we have a Verde Valley chapter. I think the Verde Valley chapter is always kind of hurting a little bit.
Always lower. We
Yeah.
just because we have a lower population on the
Okay.
Verde side than we do the Prescott
But you
side.
could use more.
Yes, always can because we're always busy,
Yeah.
busy, or busy.
Well,
it goes through waves.
I say this, well, so does
Yeah.
the news, so does the
Yes,
local news. But
same
I'm
thing.
thinking now more or less the stories we're writing about all the time. There's an
probably
Arizona
there.
Crisis Team member that has arrived there, so
Yeah.
it's not slow anymore. It was slow
Right.
22 years ago when I started doing this, but it's not slow like that
Yeah,
anymore.
it's not like
It's
that.
busy.
Yes, and we have a lot more suicides than
That's a shame.
we used to ever have. So a lot of people die from suicide.
Okay.
And Yavapai County's very high in suicide rate. So, yeah.
So you need volunteers.
Yes.
Do you have a number? How many do you have?
On this side of the mountain, on the Verde side, we have, I think, 15.
And how often do you get called out?
On the Verde side,
I should say, how often do you have to be available to be called out?
oh, three
Let me ask you
shifts a
that.
month.
Three shifts a month, which is what's a
12-hour
shift?
shifts.
Okay.
So we do shifts 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And when you're on your shift and you pick 3 a month that fit into your schedule, then you just have to be able to leave wherever you are within 5 minutes. So you can carry on your normal everyday life. I've gone to movies in Sedona and got called out. So I still carry on life. And then I just go when a call comes out.
If you call me, I say, Sue, I can't go right now. I don't want to.
Yeah, especially if it was a Star Wars movie, maybe you're like.
Well, what if
"No,
I did
don't
that though? that I would not be.
you wouldn't be with us anymore.
Right. So if you're going to be available for this, you got to be
it's a
available for it.
Yes,
Okay.
because that law enforcement officer or that nurse or that firefighter, they're counting on you to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And we have never not responded when requested. We've always responded. Sometimes it's taken a little longer because you have 3 calls going on, we call it. So you're on-duty volunteers on a call. You have spare people that are out on calls because it's just a horrific day.
Okay, let's take our second break. Arizona Crisis Team Executive Director Sue Rutherford in studio today. Phone number again for you is 928-713-6625. Website is azcrisisteam.org. Countywide back in just a couple minutes.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
What to expect when you're expecting.
Like here?
A teenager.
Today, I'm going to show you how to teen-proof your home. First step, hide the car keys. Preferably somewhere they would never look. Challenges will come up. Be ready for them. Hi, honey. Ready for the...
Mom, you don't use mannequins in the mannequin challenge.
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Smokey! Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got 3 minutes left in the program, Sue. Just gone like that. Okay, so you've got some training coming up. It takes special people to do this. You got a big heart, be very understanding, very sympathetic, understand. Oh my gosh. August 23rd.
Yes.
You've got training coming up in Prescott. How long does the training go on for?
It's about 50 hours of training, but it'll cover over a month.
Okay.
So it's spread out.
Okay.
And then in Verde, it starts September 6th.
Okay.
So it always starts on a Thursday night. We do 2 trainings a year, so we'll have one now and then next spring.
It's on Tuesday nights?
Thursday, I'm
Thursday
sorry.
nights, okay.
So it starts on a Thursday.
Okay.
So it'll be Thursday night, Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and then we have some different evenings that it occurs.
Total of 50 hours. And by the end of that 50 hours, I should know whether or not this is something I can do, and you will definitely know if it's something I can or
I'll
can't
know
do.
at the end of the first weekend, and you most likely will too.
Oh.
Yeah.
How many hours training is that into?
The first weekend is probably about 25 hours.
About half the course.
Yes. And that's the most intense time. That's where we're training you how to be with people, what to say, what not to say, how to understand what they're going through. So that's the big emotional part of it. And that's where you get people who go, I can do this, or I don't think I can do this. It's not the right fit.
I suppose you get a little bit of both each time.
Yes.
Are you getting a good turnout for the training?
Oh, yeah.
We certainly hope so, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so how do I let you know that I want to come and train?
You can either go through our website, which there's a place that says you're interested, or you can email me too, sue@azcrisisteam.org.
Okay.
Or call me.
Okay. Or call you.
Yeah.
Okay, 713-6625 is the phone number. Okay, and then we're going to do this for a couple of weeks. Yep. Training's over. Make sure I can do the times I say I can do. And I have to be there.
Yes. Yeah. And also, though, if people commit, they get on what we call the schedule. So they pick their shifts, what they want to do. But let's say something comes up. You want to go do something. Our volunteers are great at trading. They'll go, oh, hey, I'll do that shift if you do this shift. So that happens all the time because people have a life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so, but you've only got 15 volunteers in the Verde Valley. How many you got over in the Prescott area? You got that number at the top of your head?
35.
35. So twice as many, a little more than twice as many.
Yeah. But part of that 35 are dispatchers, and most of them only dispatch. Because we have more volunteers over there, they're the ones who do the dispatching. And they dispatch for both sides of the mountain. So if a call comes out in Verde, they're dispatching the volunteers over here and there.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then you're a 501c3, so
Yes.
real quick, 10 seconds. I'm willing to bet you'll take donations. If somebody can't come and be a physical help with this, they can definitely supply you with some funds to help with the gas and
they
everything
can
else
go through our website for that too.
Okay, that's on the website too. Sue, it was so great to see you.
Good to see you too.
Well, maybe we'll have you back in the spring instead of just a whole year away.
Okay.
We can know about that. Phone number again, 713-6625. Website is azcrisisteam.org. This is Countywide. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.